First of all, I want to be sensitive to the topic of borderline personality disorder, but I also want to speak truth because I think if we don't speak truth, we're not going to get anywhere. If we say everything you want to hear, then we're not going to heal. So grab a teddy bear, and I'm not joking, or a blanket or a cup of tea or something that you find comforting so that you can take this in. Grab a squishy toy. Even as adults, I think we need comfort items. I don't think there's anything wrong with that. So today we're going to talk about checking. Do you have the need to check on people or to check all the time? Okay. That's what we're going to focus on. And if you have BPD, you have an insatiable need to check on people. And probably the amount of times that you're checking on someone is probably a lot less than you would like to. But people don't like it. And that's just the truth. That could be super upsetting to someone who isn't a borderline because they give you the reassurance that I'm still here, I'm still here, I'm still here. The problem is object permanence. Once they're not in the room with you or not on the phone with you, you're not sure that they even exist anymore. And that is terrifying. You don't want them to leave you or reject you. Super terrifying beyond belief. But if you can learn that this is your pattern, this is something that you almost have to memorize, that is not realistic. People don't just, in general, disappear like that. Like, they're still there. They're still at work. They're still at their house. They're still in the other room. It doesn't work that way. They are generally still there. If they were your friend yesterday, then the likelihood of them being your friend tomorrow is really high. So you almost have to figure out how to memorize that concept and teach yourself to hold on to it, to teach yourself to deal with anxiety in some other sort of way, like squeezing a teddy bear, getting a pet, squeezing one of those squishy toys, playing with a Rubik's Cube, jumping into a cold shower, doing some things to alleviate, because every time you check, they're there. Even if you haven't heard from them in an hour, they're there. Even if you haven't heard from them in a day, then you find out they're there. Like, people don't disappear like that. It just doesn't work that way. So I have to speak for the people who are non-BPDs also, because this could be very damaging to them when they have a BPD in their life that won't stop checking. Are you there? Are you there? I have to call you again. I have to call you a third time. I have to call your job to see if you're still there. I have to call you to see if you answer the phone. I have to call to see if you're okay. Now, if you have an attachment style, if you've studied those and you're not a secure attachment, you will feel some of this, especially if you are anxiously attached or you have fearful avoidant attachment style. Either one of those comes with a little bit of this component where you do feel the need to check, especially if it's a romantic interest. You might even feel a little bit of that with family members that you are codependent with or in mesh with. Like, okay, I haven't heard from them. That's not their normal pattern. But you won't be as incessant with it, where it's check every hour, every 5 minutes, every 10 minutes. Let me go into my coworker's office to see if there's evidence of them still being there. I can't handle you walking away to go to lunch right now because I need you to be here, because I can't handle the possibility of you not coming back and disappearing. That's something that you're going to have to learn how to develop a tolerance for. And I know easier said than done, but let's just put it on the table. This is something that you deal with. This is a part of who you are. This is what you're feeling. It feels terrible. It sucks. It feels horrible. And let's get to the core of why you are feeling that way The core of it is object permanence, not learning at a very early age that people are safe, that you didn't bond. You didn't bond the way that you needed to, or you have a genetic disposition to it. But more than likely, you didn't bond to your caregiver the way that you needed to, that created safety. So when you watch a toddler, like a little 1-year-old, they're going to come to their mom and they're going to walk away. They're going to come back to their mom and they're going to walk away. They're going to do the check, 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 check thing, right? Because I need to see that my mommy is still there. I need to see that my daddy is still there. At about 18 months, they will switch over to the father. That's why the father needs to be in the house and be part of their lives, because that baby is going to switch over and start connecting with that secondary parent in potentially a clingy way. So babies and toddlers can be very clingy at 9 months. They go through a stage, more than likely, where they don't want anybody but their mommy. Okay. If you notice, a borderline is doing that at age 25, 16, 35, 45, 55. It can start to subside as you get older, like old. Well, not old, but I mean, I don't want to insult, but as you get older, it can start to finally subside some. But in the meantime, it's torture. It is torture to not have that built-in concept that people are not going to disappear the way that you are treating them. But when you check, 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 you start to freak everyone out in a way that they don't want to revisit from when they were 2 years old or 1 year old, when they were trying to attach to their mommy. They don't want to feel that. That's scary. You're freaking them out. You're terrifying them. You're making them nervous. You're scaring them. They don't understand what you're doing. They don't understand why you're appearing at their job or knocking on their door for crazy reasons, or making up excuses to see if they're there. I just needed to look in the room. I needed to unlock your door. I know it's easier said than done, but I think working on understanding the core that I just explained to you can be very helpful. Educating yourself, accepting that can help. So you may want to watch this video a few times to try to let that concept sink in. Easier said than done, I know. It is terrifying. It's scary. It feels horrible. You don't want to feel that way. You don't want to need to check on people over and over to see if they're still there. It's an instinct, and you freak out and you worry and you don't feel better until you see that the person that you're trying to attach to is still there, but it's inappropriate. It's not acceptable to do that. And what you do is you create the scenario that you don't want, where people leave you. And I know it's scary to hear that. I know you don't want to hear that. I know you want somebody to always be there for you. That's what you're looking for. You're looking for that unconditional, I'm always here, we are attached. You're trying to do what didn't happen in childhood. You're trying to bond so that you have that security, because there is a little bit of relief when you see that the person is there. But you're still probably terrified 24 hours a day. And that is not a healthy way to live, by constantly worrying nonstop that a person is here or they're not here, or I need to just call their job, or I need to do things that are inappropriate. That's stalking somebody. That's illegal. You do not have permission to do that. You do not have permission to call someone incessantly. You have to understand their patterns. Now, with some friendships, you might talk to each other every day, and that's okay. That's fun. I've had friendships like that. I think that's okay as long as both people are in agreement that that's okay. But that doesn't mean that you're calling them 18 times a day, 20 times a day. That's more than likely inappropriate. Calling your friend's job to see if they're still there with an excuse for why you need to talk to them. That's inappropriate. That's super inappropriate. Okay? So there are certain things that you do not have permission to do. So you're going to have to relieve that energy some other kind of way by, unfortunately, probably staying way too busy. But it's better to stay really busy doing things that you enjoy, that can bring pleasure, that can help other people, making care packages, crocheting, reading books, exercising, just doing things that keep you busy rather than treating somebody like they are your savior. Only Jesus Christ is your savior. And that might be another thing. You might want to get into church, pray, connect with God. That could be, I think that's number one anyway. God created this earth. This is his earth. This is his world. He wants a connection with you. Sometimes people who are not borderlines may feel an emptiness because they don't have a connection with the source, who is Jesus Christ. You might also want to spread that out with multiple organizations, like the church being one of them. You could be part of a Big Brothers or Big Sisters, or help animals. Spread some of that out. It's not, you do not have permission to put that on one person. In romantic relationships, we can all kind of go back to that original place of bonding, connecting, healing wounds that weren't, healing wounds from childhood, expecting a very close, romantic, intense relationship. I think it's God's way of giving us a mate, somebody who can love us. It's a special gift that God gives us. It's not something that we have to purchase, but it's something that he gives us in our adulthood, to help us through our life. He gives us a mate, and it's a deep, deep bond. But borderlines will try to connect with everyone on that deep, deep bond because of what they missed in childhood. Whereas there are limits, there's really limits to all relationships. But, borderlines, you do not have permission. Everybody is not your romantic partner. And checking on people incessantly. You might want to make yourself a little checklist, where you say, okay, I checked with this person today. Let me check them off. Maybe you connect with 20 people and you check with each one of them once a day. But be careful of checking with the same person 5 times a day, 3 times a day, 10 times a day, 20 times a day. I just gotta call their job. We can kind of do that checking when we're in romantic relationships. That feels more normal. But romantic relationships, that is a different level of expectation. So you may want to study the differences, and this is your assignment. So you may want to find something else to check on. You know what I'm saying? It could be an inanimate object. It could be, I'm checking to see. Find some creative ways. That's your job. Find some creative ways to check on something to get that energy out. I don't want to create obsessive compulsive disorder where you're checking to see if the door was closed. Let me go check to see if the door was closed. But that might be better than pushing someone away. And I know that's a scary word to hear. But pushing somebody away because you need to check. Are you there? Hello, it's me. I'm here, I'm walking in, I'm coming up with excuses. It starts to feel very manipulative because you're figuring out excuses to come and see that person instead of it just being genuine. You can't make it genuine. It's not genuine. You're trying to see, are they still alive? Are they still here? The answer is yes. Make yourself a big sign that says yes, they are still here. And honestly, when I'm working with children, for example, that I think are potential borderline personality disorder or have that, it is, I don't know whether to address it straightforwardly, like what I'm doing with you, or to avoid it. I feel like you're looking for this topic, you're trying to understand, and I applaud you. Maybe you understand that you have this disorder. Sometimes I don't know if bringing it up to them at a young age, I want them to heal from it at a young age, but sometimes it could be triggering and make them do it more. Hearing this video might make you feel like doing it more. Like now I just got to get it out, get it out, get it out. What do you need to do? Go count 100 items before you count 10,000 items before you can call the person again. You got to figure out a way to act out that energy because it's wired into your brain for one thing. However, we're still holding you accountable for it. That's the unfortunate thing. It's like you can't commit a crime because you have the urge to steal, and we say, well, your brain is wired to steal things. No, you're going to jail because you can't control yourself. So we can't get, you do not have permission to act out with people in that way. So you're going to have to figure out how to get that energy out. So I want you to come up with 5 ways that you're going to get that energy out. You got to work it out because even though it's wired in your brain, it's also energy. It's energy that you need to do something with. Borderline personality disorder is often characterized by intense emotions, unstable relationships, and a pervasive fear of abandonment. One of the behaviors that can manifest in individuals with BPD is the tendency to constantly check in on people, seeking reassurance that they have not been abandoned or forgotten. This can occur across various relationships, including those with colleagues, friends, family, and neighbors. The need for reassurance stems from an underlying fear that those close to them may suddenly disappear or no longer care. This can lead to repetitive texting, calling, or even appearing unannounced to confirm the other person's presence and commitment. While the individual with BPD may not intend to be burdensome, this constant need for validation can become overwhelming for the recipients. For friends, family, and the like, this behavior can be particularly challenging. The repeated check-ins may feel intrusive, and the pressure to respond promptly can create anxiety. Recipients may feel that their own boundaries are being crossed, leading to frustration and resentment. They may struggle to understand the underlying emotional turmoil driving this behavior, which can make it difficult to respond compassionately. Colleagues and acquaintances may also find this behavior disruptive in a professional setting. Constant check-ins can impact productivity and create an uncomfortable environment. While the intent behind the behavior is often rooted in fear and insecurity, the outward effects can alienate those around them. For individuals with BPD, finding healthier ways to cope with feelings of abandonment is essential. Therapy, particularly dialectical behavioral therapy, which is DBT, can provide strategies to manage these fears and develop more stable relationships. Learning to communicate needs without overwhelming others can help foster healthier connections, allowing for a sense of security without the constant need for reassurance. Ultimately, understanding and compassion from those around individuals with BPD can make a significant difference. Open conversations about feelings and boundaries can help create a supportive environment that addresses the needs of both parties. Individuals with borderline personality disorder may often resort in contrived excuses to interrupt or reach out to others, stemming from their deep-seated fears of abandonment and a need for constant reassurance. This behavior can manifest in various ways, such as fabricating reasons to visit friends, family, or colleagues multiple times a day, even when it's unnecessary. The motivation behind these actions is usually rooted in emotional distress. The fear of being ignored or forgotten can drive them to create scenarios that justify their need to connect. For instance, they might invent a minor issue that requires assistance or claim to drop by to return an item, even when no such item exists. This can lead to a cycle of unnecessary interruptions that not only frustrate the recipients, but also create tension in the relationship. Moreover, these contrived excuses can lead to unnecessary drama and conflict. The constant need to be in contact can overwhelm others and may lead to feelings of resentment. Recipients might find themselves questioning the authenticity of interactions, leading to mistrust and confusion. Over time, this pattern can strain relationships, making it difficult for the individual with BPD to maintain meaningful connections. Additionally, the drama created by such behaviors can spiral into larger issues. Friends and family may feel compelled to respond to these fabricated crises, inadvertently validating the behavior and reinforcing the cycle of dependency. This can hinder the individual's ability to develop healthier coping mechanisms and strategies for managing their emotions. To address these challenges, it's important for both the individual with BPD and their loved ones to establish clear boundaries and open lines of communication. Encouraging the person to express their feelings without resorting to manipulation or drama can help foster healthier interactions. Therapy can also play a crucial role in helping individuals with BPD understand their behaviors and develop more constructive ways to cope with their fears of abandonment. Ultimately, fostering an environment of understanding and support while also maintaining boundaries can help mitigate the frustration experienced by all parties involved. This balance can lead to more stable and fulfilling relationships, reducing the reliance on contrived excuses and unnecessary drama. So, I did write a book about narcissists that I want you to check out because I think that will help you to understand one of the major personality disorders. And also, if you want to get your love life together, I wrote a book called Flip the Script on Love, and it's going to be sectioned to help you feel and enjoy your romantic life. And if you want to understand Myers-Briggs personality types, I wrote a book called From ENFJ with Love. So it's by Tamara Hunter Zyon. I'll put the links in the description box. And thank you guys so much. I really appreciate you joining me in this conversation. Let me know what you think in the comments, and I'll see you on the next video. Subscribe, and bye for now.